Framer Motion is a game-changing animation library for React that allows developers to create stunning, interactive user interfaces, because making things move is a lot cooler than a static web page. So let's explore how Framer Motion can bring your web applications to life, from the basics of fade-ins to the complexity of dynamically sized layouts, all with our little friend, this box. Before we can start creating animations in React, the first thing we need to do is install Framer Motion. It's a simple process and can be done using npm or yarn, depending on your preferred package manager. Once installed, you're ready to start using Framer Motion in your components. What's great about it is that it offers a declarative API, which means you don't need to manually calculate animation frames or handle complex state updates. Instead, you can just define what your animation should do, and Framer Motion handles the rest. To get a feel for how Framer Motion works, let's start with a basic fade-in animation and build on top of it from there, with our friend, the box. Imagine you want this box to gradually appear when the page loads. With Framer Motion, this is incredibly easy to implement. The key to creating animations is to use its motion components, which are essentially animated versions of HTML elements like div, span, or even SVG. As you can see, we've replaced the standard div with motion.div, which gives us access to Framer Motion's animation capabilities. The initial prop sets the starting opacity to 0, and the animate prop gradually changes the opacity to 1. The transition prop defines the duration of the animation as 1.5 seconds. As soon as the component renders, the box will fade into view smoothly. Now that we've seen how to control opacity, let's take it up a notch by adding movement, scaling, and rotation to our box. Framer Motion allows you to animate multiple properties at once, which makes it easy to create dynamic and visually appealing effects. Here we've added 3 new animated properties: X, Scale, and Rotate. The X property controls horizontal movement, so the box starts 200 pixels to the left and moves to 200 pixels to the right. The Scale property animates the box from half its original size to its full size, and the Rotate property makes the box spin a full 360 degrees. All of these animations happen over a 2-second period. What's great about Framer Motion is that it simplifies combining multiple animations into a single smooth sequence. Interactivity is key to building engaging user interfaces, and Framer Motion makes it easy to animate components based on user input. For instance, you can use while hover to trigger animations when a user hovers over an element, and while tap to handle animations when the user clicks or taps on it. This is especially useful for buttons, cards, or interactive elements that need to give instant feedback. So let's give our box this new interactivity. In this code, we've added 2 new props: while hover and while tap. When the user hovers over the box, it scales up to 120% of its original size and changes color to pink. When the user clicks on it, it shrinks to 90% of its original size. These interactive animations happen quickly, with a transition duration of just 0.3 seconds, giving the interface a responsive feel. If you want to be a little extra though, a simple start and end animation isn't enough. For more complex sequences, Framer Motion supports keyframes, allowing you to define multiple states that an element moves through over time. This is perfect for animations that require multiple transformations, such as bouncing, color changes, or sequential movements, and can give our box a little more personality. Here, the box moves through 3 different positions on the horizontal axis, and its color changes from orange to blue to green. The times array inside the transition prop tells Framer Motion when each keyframe should occur. This animation lasts for 2 seconds, but it feels much richer because of the multiple stages it passes through. Keyframes are a powerful tool when you need more control over the timing and flow of your animations. Let's move away from the box for a bit and go to lists. Animating lists of items is a common challenge in web development, especially when items are dynamically added or removed from the DOM. Fortunately, Framer Motion's Animate Presence component makes it simple to animate items as they enter or exit a list. This is particularly useful for things like to-do lists, notifications, or any UI where content is frequently updated. Here, the Animate Presence component wraps the motion.li elements, ensuring that they animate both when they are added and when they are removed from the DOM. Each list item fades in as it's added, and fades out when it's removed. Clicking on an item will remove it from the list, and the exit animation makes this transition feel smooth. Now that we've animated a simple list, we can improve the effect by staggering the animations. With staggered animations, each item animates in sequence, one after the other, creating a beautiful cascading effect. Framer Motion makes this easy with the Stagger Children property inside the transition prop. Now we've defined two sets of variants, one for the container variants, and one for the individual items, item variants. The Stagger Children property inside the Show transition staggers the animation of each list item by 0.2 seconds. The result is that each item fades in and moves into a position in sequence, one after the other, creating a smooth, cascading effect that looks polished and professional. Okay, enough lists. Back to our box. So far, we've made our box slide in, fade in, and do some fancy things. But what if we want it to bounce? This is where Framer Motion's spring physics come into play. Spring animations replicate real-world physics by simulating tension and friction, making movements feel more fluid. Here, the type:"spring" in the transition prop tells Framer Motion to use spring physics instead of a simple erasing function. The stiffness controls how fast the box moves, while damping reduces the amount of bounce at the end of the movement. The result is a smooth, natural-looking motion that mimics the feel of real-world objects. Some people, though, may not be a fan of our dynamic box, or maybe their device just explodes when trying to render the thing. When you're building large applications with many animations, performance becomes critical. Framer Motion includes features like lazy motion that help optimize your app by loading animation features only when needed. Additionally, it's important to respect users' system preferences for reduced motion, ensuring that your animations don't cause discomfort for users who prefer minimal motion. Here, we use the lazy motion component to load animation features only when they are needed, optimizing the initial load time. Additionally, we use the Use Reduced Motion hook to detect if the user prefers reduced motion. If so, the animation will run with fewer transitions, making it easier on the eyes. This is a great way to improve both performance and accessibility in your applications. Another powerful feature of Framer Motion is layout animations, which allow you to smoothly animate changes to an element's layout, such as resizing or repositioning. This is especially useful for responsive design or when elements need to dynamically adjust based on user input. So let's see what our box would look like with that. Here we use the layout prop to animate the resizing of the box. When the user clicks on the box, it expands or contracts smoothly. The transition is powered by spring physics, making the motion feel natural and responsive. Layout animations are a great way to enhance the user experience, particularly in UIs with lots of dynamic content. Framer Motion makes it incredibly easy to implement drag-and-drop functionality, which is useful for interactive elements like sliders, draggable cards, or sortable lists. Let's create a draggable box that can be moved within a defined area. Here, the drag prop makes the box draggable, allowing users to interact with it directly. The drag constraints prop limits the draggable area, ensuring that the box can only be moved within 100 pixels of its initial position. This is a great way to add interactivity to your app, whether you're building a card sorting feature, a puzzle game, or even a custom UI element. Let's say you want to build more than just a page, though. How would we animate that? When building multi-page applications, smooth page transitions can greatly improve the user experience. Framer Motion can be combined with React Router to animate transitions between different routes, making navigation feel more cohesive. So let's take another short break from the box and figure this out. In this code, we use the Animate Presence component to handle the exit and entry animations when switching between routes. Each page is wrapped in a motion.div, which controls the animation as the user navigates between different views. The pages fade and slide into view, creating a seamless transition that feels smooth and professional. Page transitions like these can enhance the user experience, making your app feel more fluid and interactive. Okay, back to messing around with our boxy friend. Easing functions define the speed of an animation over time, giving it a more natural feel. By default, Framer Motion provides basic easing options, but sometimes you might need to customize the easing for more complex animations. This can be useful when simulating real-world behavior like acceleration or deceleration. So let's see how it looks when we apply it to our box. Here, we use a custom cubic Bezier curve to control the animation speed. The ease prop allows you to specify custom easing using an array of 4 numbers, which represent control points on a curve. This gives you precise control over how the animation behaves at the beginning, middle, and end. You can use this technique to create sophisticated animations like smooth acceleration or abrupt stops. Sometimes you may want to delay the start of an animation to create more suspense or to trigger animations in sequence. Framer motion allows you to delay animations using the delay property inside the transition object. This feature is especially useful for UI elements that appear gradually or are triggered by user interactions. Here, the animation will not start immediately when the component renders. Instead, it will wait for 0.5 seconds before the box fades in and moves from Y -100 to Y 0. This technique is perfect for animations that need to be triggered in a staggered sequence, or as part of a larger choreography of UI elements. Repeating animations can be useful for things like loaders, notifications, or UI components that require continuous motion. Framer motion's repeat property lets you loop an animation, and the repeat type property gives you control over how the animation repeats, whether it starts over or reverses. In this code, the box rotates a full 360 degrees in 2 seconds, and then reverses back to its original position. The repeat:infinity prop ensures that the animation continues indefinitely, and repeat type:reverse creates a smooth back and forth motion. This approach is ideal for creating attention-grabbing UI components, such as rotating icons or pulsating elements. Scroll-triggered animations can add a lot of visual appeal to long pages or landing sites, so let's do it with our box. With Framer motion and the Use in View hook, you can animate elements as they come into the viewport. This provides an opportunity to create subtle yet impactful scroll-based elements. Here, the Use in View hook detects when the component enters the viewport. As the user scrolls down and the element comes into view, the box fades and moves into place. This technique is frequently used in product landing pages to reveal content progressively as the user scrolls down. When building dynamic UIs where the layout changes frequently, you can use the layout prop to smoothly transition between different layout states. This is particularly useful for cards that expand on click or items that reorder based on user interactions. So let's make our box dynamic. Here, when the user clicks on the box, it dynamically resizes. The layout prop ensures that this change is animated, making the transition feel fluid and natural. This feature is often used in responsive designs, collapsible sections, and grid layouts that adjust based on content. For more advanced control over animations, you can use the Use Animation hook to trigger animations programmatically. This is particularly helpful when you need to animate an element in response to external events or when combining multiple animations. Here, the Use Animation hook gives you programmatic control over the box's movement. Clicking the button triggers the animation, moving the box 200 pixels to the right. This approach is useful in cases where you want to trigger animations in response to specific user actions, like form submissions or button clicks. Framer motion simplifies adding gestures such as dragging to your UI components. You can enable users to drag elements within a specified area or freely across the screen, making your application more interactive and engaging. Let's modify our box a little. Here, the box can be dragged freely within a 200 pixel wide and 200 pixel tall box. The drag constraints prop limits the dragging area, ensuring that the box doesn't move out of bounds. This feature is perfect for creating interactive dashboards or draggable components in complex UIs. And to finish it off, let's animate an SVG path. Framer motion can be used to animate the drawing of SVG paths, which is great for custom icons, logos, or illustrations that appear as if they're being drawn in real time. So let's animate our box. Wait a second, that's not a box, that's a circle. Interesting. Here, the path length property is animated from 0 to 1, giving the appearance that the circle is being drawn from start to finish, pretty much identical to the trim paths feature you'd find in video editing software. This technique is perfect for logos or illustrations that need an engaging custom animation. And there you have it. With the help of our friends, the box, the list, and the circle, we've gone through a ton of Framer motion applications that can take your React applications to the next level. From simple fade-ins and hover effects to advanced page transitions and draggable elements, Framer motion makes it easy to create engaging, interactive UIs, because something moving on a web page will always be more memorable than something static.